ECRL, 665 kilometers. East coast to west coast. 9 years in the making. RTS Link, 4 kilometers. Malaysia to Singapore. 5 minutes. What happens when both open at the same time? 2 projects. 1 month. Both of them the result of years of construction, renegotiation, testing, political will, and the kind of institutional follow-through that this channel has spent months documenting. Both of them confirmed. Both of them on schedule. Both of them opening in January 2027. And nobody has yet told the story of what happens when you combine them. Because individually, the ECRL is a transformative infrastructure story. Individually, the RTS Link is a transformative cross-border connectivity story. But together, opening in the same month, activating at the same moment, creating simultaneous economic effects across the same corridor, they are something different from either one alone. They are a compound event. And compound events produce outcomes that nobody fully predicted when they were looking at each project in isolation. This video is the first honest attempt to map what January 2027 actually produces when you stop treating these 2 projects as separate stories and start treating them as one. Welcome to Shifted Perspective. This channel tracks what is actually happening before the mainstream figures it out. Subscribe right now so you never miss what we uncover. Hit like if you have been following both of these projects and never heard them discussed together. Drop 1 word in the comments, ready or watching. Tell me where you stand on January 2027. Let us get into it. Let me start with what the ECRL actually is in January 2027. Not what it was when it was announced. Not what it looked like at 50% completion. What it is on the day it opens. 665 kilometers of standard gauge double-track electrified railway. 20 stations. Connecting Kota Bahru in Kelantan on the South China Sea coast to Gombak in Selangor, the gateway to Kuala Lumpur, in approximately 4 hours. That same journey by road takes 7 to 8 hours. The ECRL cuts it by half. 11 6-carriage electric multiple unit passenger trains running at up to 160 kilometers per hour. 12 electric locomotives handling freight. A revenue model where 70% of income comes from freight and 30% from passengers, which means the ECRL is not primarily a commuter train. It is a logistics corridor connecting 2 coastlines with passenger service running alongside it. The 519-kilometer main track alignment from Kota Bahru to Gombak was completed ahead of schedule in March 2026. The ECRL reached 94% construction progress as of May 2026 and is scheduled to enter the testing and commissioning phase before starting commercial operations in January 2027. The finance minister confirmed on the record that the project is on schedule. The MRL CEO confirmed the testing and commissioning timeline publicly. This is not hope. This is a project with verified progress percentages, a completed main track, and a named operational date. But the ECRL's opening in January 2027 is not primarily a passenger story. The 3 East Coast states it connects, Kelantan, Terengganu, and Pahang, contain some of Malaysia's most resource-rich and least economically developed land. Palm oil, timber, fisheries, halal manufacturing, tourism infrastructure that currently cannot compete because the cost and time of getting goods to port eats the margins. The ECRL changes that calculation entirely. A palm oil processor in Kota Bahru who currently waits days for road freight to reach Port Klang on the west coast or Kuantan Port on the east coast will, from January 2027, have direct rail freight access to both. At a fraction of the road transport cost. On a schedule rather than a weather and traffic approximation. The land bridge effect is the most significant strategic outcome. The ECRL connects Port Klang on the Strait of Malacca, one of the world's most strategically important shipping lanes, to Kuantan Port on the South China Sea. International freight that currently has to sail around the southern tip of the peninsula to move between those 2 bodies of water can instead offload at one port, transfer to ECRL rail, cross the peninsula and reload at the other port. The ECRL documentation estimates this route could reduce international shipping time by up to 30 hours compared to the conventional sea route. 30 hours. In global logistics that is not marginal. That is a contract rewriting difference. Now the RTS Link. 4 kilometers. Bukit Cagar Station in central Johor Bahru to Woodlands North Station in Singapore. 5 minutes. On track for January 2027 with costs stable and no requests for cost revisions from contractors despite global economic pressures. 10,000 passengers per hour in each direction at peak frequency. Roughly 40,000 riders a day expected at launch. Co-located customs, immigration and quarantine facilities at both stations. Passengers clear both countries' borders once at their departure station and walk straight out on arrival. From Johor Bahru city center to Singapore's central business district in under an hour, against the current 3-hour peak hour causeway alternative. The opening of the RTS Link is expected to inject RM3.3 billion into Johor's economy annually. Singaporean spending in Johor Bahru projected to increase by SGD 1.05 billion every year after operations begin. 11.2 million additional annual return trips from Singapore to Johor Bahru. 3.3 million additional trips from Johor to Singapore. The structural shift in cross-border consumer behavior is already visible in the property market. Service department transaction prices in Johor Bahru surged 20.4% in the second quarter of 2025 before the train carried a single passenger. Economists and business leaders confirm the impact will be immediate for businesses in the services sector, healthcare, food and beverage, retail, because they respond quickly when commuting is made easier. Johor's healthcare sector is specifically positioned to appeal to Singapore residents seeking specialist treatment, health screenings, and follow-up appointments at significantly lower cost with significantly shorter wait times than Singapore's own system. So here is what nobody is quite saying loudly enough about January 2027. When you put the ECRL and the RTS Link in the same frame, opening in the same month, activating simultaneously, the effect is not additive. It is multiplicative. The ECRL's primary economic benefit runs east to west. It connects Malaysia's least developed states to its most developed economic corridor. It gives Kelantan, Terengganu and Pahang direct rail access to the Klang Valley and through it to Port Klang and the global shipping network. It unlocks industries that have been landlocked for decades. It creates economic momentum that flows from east to west across the peninsula. The RTS Link's primary economic benefit runs south to north. It connects Johor Bahru to Singapore's labor market, Singapore's consumer spending, Singapore's corporate investment ecosystem. It gives the JSSEZ 3,288 square kilometers of Johor with 5% corporate tax, direct human connectivity to the most productive economic city in Southeast Asia. It creates economic momentum that flows from south to north across the strait. January 2027 is the month both of those flows activate simultaneously. The east-west corridor of the ECRL and the north-south corridor of the RTS Link do not intersect geographically, but they intersect economically in the Klang Valley. The western terminus of the ECRL is Gombak, the gateway to Kuala Lumpur, the same city that is also the primary financial and commercial hub that Singapore companies expanding into Malaysia use as their regional headquarters. A company setting up in the JSSEZ in January 2027 has, for the first time simultaneously, 5-minute access to Singapore's financial and corporate infrastructure via the RTS Link and 4-hour rail freight access to the East Coast ports and the South China Sea via the ECRL. Those two things together create a supply chain flexibility that did not exist in December 2026. A manufacturer in Johor can source raw materials from the East Coast via ECRL freight, process them in the JSSEZ with Singapore-grade connectivity, and export finished goods through either Port Klang to the west or Kuantan Port to the east, from the same location. From January 2027. That logistics capability is what global manufacturing companies are assessing when they look at the Malaysia corridor in 2026. Not just the tax rates and the land prices. The connectivity. The ability to access 2 coastlines and a Singapore financial hub from a single operating location. That combination did not exist before. It exists from January 2027. Here is what intellectual honesty requires before this video ends. Both projects have opening date histories that deserve to be acknowledged. The RTS Link was originally targeted for 2024 before COVID and scope adjustments pushed it to 2027. The ECRL was suspended entirely in 2018 before renegotiation and resumption in 2019. Both have been here before, confirmed on track, tested on schedule, and both have previously disappointed. The difference this time is measurable and specific. The ECRL's 519 km main track from Kota Bahru to Gombak was physically completed ahead of schedule in March 2026. That is not a progress percentage. That is track in the ground. Testing and commissioning is underway with named equipment, 11 EMU passenger trains and 12 electric locomotives. The RTS Link has system integration testing underway, costs confirmed stable with no contractor revision requests, and bilateral government confirmation of January 1, 2027 operations from the transport ministers of both Malaysia and Singapore. There is still 5 months between now and January 1. Testing can reveal problems. Integration of two sovereign countries' immigration systems in a single facility is genuinely complex. The last-mile transport network in Johor Bahru, the feeder buses and local connections that determine whether the RTS Link passenger exits the station and reaches their final destination efficiently, is still being finalized. The compound economic effect this video has described is the effect that materializes when both projects open on schedule and perform as designed. That is the most likely outcome based on current evidence. It is not the guaranteed outcome. The honest investor and the honest planner holds the upside scenario and the delay scenario simultaneously and plans for both. January 2027 is 5 months away. The ECRL is 94% built with its main track physically completed ahead of schedule. The RTS Link is in system integration testing with bilateral government confirmation of its January 1st opening date. Both of them are the most credible they have ever been at any point in their histories. And together they create something that has never existed in Malaysia before. An east-west land bridge connecting two coastlines and a cross-border north-south connector linking a 5% tax economic zone to the most productive city in Southeast Asia. Activated simultaneously. In the same month. On the same calendar page. The January 2027 effect is not the opening of two trains. It is the activation of a connected economic corridor that changes the investment logic of the entire Johor Klang Valley East Coast Triangle. The companies that understood this in 2025 are already positioned. The ones that understand it now are still in time. The ones who figure it out after January 2027 will be looking at a transformed landscape and wondering when exactly it changed. It changed on a specific date. January 2027. When two trains started running. At the same time. I want to hear from you. Are you watching this from inside the corridor? From Johor Bahru, from the East Coast states, from Kuala Lumpur, from Singapore? Tell me in one sentence what January 2027 changes for where you are. And the big question, do you think both projects open on schedule or does one of them slip? Yes, they both open or no one slips. Drop it in the comments. I read every single reply. If this video told the story you have not heard anywhere else, share it with one person who needs to see the full picture. Subscribe right now because Shifted Perspective is tracking every week of this countdown. I will see you in the next one.